was going to come here and give you a really hard time tonight.
At least he's honest.
But this gentleman who's been screaming behind my head for the last hour has done more than I could ever do.
Amen. Good night, sir.
This is a free country, but I think that there's a certain degree of respect that we all have.
It starts at the top. He gave me zero respect. I was one of the first ones that stood up and had my hand up. He gave me zero respect.
Well, maybe you'll go next. So let me have the floor now, okay? You want the respect? You know, this gentleman says that he doesn't want the government to have its hand in his pocket, okay? The preamble of the Constitution includes the phrase, promote the general welfare.
And provide and promote are two different words. I won't be quiet. I won't sit down and I won't let this happen on my watch.
You may not want the government in your pocket until you go to a restaurant and there's an employee working in the back who is sick as a dog, does not have any health insurance, and provides you smiling face and all with a meal that is going to make you sick.
Next.
Well, let's let him finish because everybody else had a chance.
You are not going to say, I don't want the government in my pocket when somebody is robbing your home because they do not have food on the table and they don't have food stamps.
Maybe they'll go back where they came from. I'm a big fan of the Second Amendment too, sir. Bring them on.
I'm a big fan.
That's where you pull out your pistol and take care of it.
It says, sir, we will promote the general welfare. We will provide the defense. Promote and provide are two different words.
This is not a constitutional course.
Let me just say, when I wanted to buy a home, I wanted to have the option.
Oh, I understand.
I will pose a question to you. I wanted to have the FHA so that I could purchase a home. Okay, but I would like to ask you a totally separate question, and that is the amount of money that is being spent on Iraq and Afghanistan. And when is that either going to be explained to me as to why it's a justified expenditure of funds, or when is that going to end?
Okay. Well, hopefully in Iraq fairly quickly, because in all honesty, what I've heard, and I've been to both Iraq and Afghanistan a number of times, we got a lot more problems, and you know, decisions were made and we shouldn't have done it. We should have dealt with Afghanistan because that's where the Taliban started, that's where it attacked us. But we didn't make that. The president's commander-in-chief. This commander-in-chief has the right to do different things, and so hopefully we'll bring down our troops in Iraq when they can take care of their own business. And so far, the getting out of the cities is working, and we're going to bring that 130,000 troops, redeploy them. But I just heard today that not only the 20,000 plus that are committed now, but there's probably going to be another 20,000 through 2010, because plus up of what we did in Iraq, we built up the police and the army. We have to do the same thing in Afghanistan, or else as soon as we leave, the Taliban will come in and take over. But I'm hoping we'll get out from Iraq, because my frustration is that Iraq, it really has been traditionally a highly educated country and wealthy country. It's been run by dictators. And the military who served in both places tell me Iraq maybe in the 19th century, or maybe maybe they are in the 1960s. Afghanistan's still in the 12 or 1300s. So there's a lot of work to do there, but we won't have near the numbers in Afghanistan as we do in Iraq. But it's going to be tougher because they have hardly any infrastructure. In Iraq, they were worried about treating the water system. In Afghanistan, they drink out of the stream. They don't have a water system. So we got a lot of work to do. Let me take 4 more questions because they're going to run us out. Let me get the gentleman in the brown shirt.
waiting patiently to
Well,
ask you.
you know you had some competition.
Yes, ask you about cap and trade. I know you can't see it, but I'm going to explain it and I'm
Oh,
going to
I
get your
don't-
comment. Listen, I know that we've done, you have this feeling that we need cap and trade to cap the greenhouse gases and the effects of greenhouse gases. And if that's your opinion, that's fine. I don't believe it. I don't believe it at all, but that's your opinion. My problem is you just explained not 30 minutes ago that Shell built a refinery in the Netherlands.
Oh, no. Shell's had a chemical plant in the Netherlands. They're from
Because
the
of
Netherlands.
the gas.
They moved some,
I
no, they
understand,
moved
because of the cost.
production over there.
Production over there because of the gas.
Well, in
Now, my question is
healthcare.
this. All the wind that everybody's been talking about, we need alternate energy sources, et cetera, et cetera. The best sources for wind energy, and it's not me, it's the federal government, U.S. Energy Department of Energy, is in the Northeast and the left coast, okay? In 1999, Texas had 184 megawatts of wind power. California had 1,600. Today, we have 8,200 megawatts of wind power.
Yeah.
Massachusetts, 6. Rhode Island, 2. New Jersey, 8.
What's California have now?
California, 2,600. They barely doubled. So my point is this. We're doing our part in this state. And as a representative of this state, I'm wondering why you would vote for a bill that we know is going to hurt the energy in this state.
You're talking about cap and trade?
Cap and trade.
Okay.
Everyone, including Democrats, Republicans, have said this is going to hurt the energy industry.
Right.
Now, we've done our part to get off the green, to get onto the green, get off of petroleum. That's going to happen. My question is, what the hell is the Northeast going to do?
Yeah.
Why aren't they pulling their weight, and why aren't you going to take taxes from this state, cap and tax industry in this state, to send it up to people that are pulling their own weight?
Okay. Well, you're right. Since 1999, otherwise, there's been countries in the world, Denmark, amazingly for wind power. And but Texas is literally the biggest growth in the world on wind power. And if you don't believe me, get on 610 Loop or Beltway 8 and you'll be behind one of those propellers if they unload at the ship channel. My goal is to have those propellers not made over in Europe or in China, but have them made in our district. Because we're creating that industry and we're building them in West Texas.
That's the back end. That's after we've already injured and taken the taxes from the refinery.
Oh, no. Well, let me talk about though. But even if we do every windmill we can in Texas, and Texas needs to do better on solar. And the legislature didn't pass a bill that would do for solar what they've done for wind in Texas. It's been actually some state initiatives on the state level in Texas, whereas Massachusetts is not doing it. California's done a lot on state initiatives on solar, and we could do that and do alternatives. But even if we do every solar and wind we can dream of, we're still going to have nuclear. We're going to have natural gas. We're going to have some coal.
Then what all the federal government would have to do is say, look, Texas, build all the nuclear plants you want. And I guarantee you this state would, because we'll take care of ourselves. My question is not, why won't you let us do that? My question is, why are you taking productivity from this state to other states?
Well, I can tell you, we're not taking refineries because you can't get a refinery in Massachusetts. In fact, Massachusetts doesn't even want to have an offshore facility for liquefied natural gas. But we will continue to provide we provide about 40% of the refined product from literally Beaumont, Port Arthur down to Corpus, and we will continue to do that for the country.
Are we not going to take the brunt of the cap and trade tax? I mean, is that not true?
Well, what's going to happen is that once it all kicks in, and again, if the technology is not there, my worry is that Congress gets the law ahead of the science, and it is, but this doesn't kick in until many years later, and there will be a time to revisit it if we don't have the opportunity to say, okay, what can we use other than hydrocarbons?
Why not wait till the technology exists?
Well, because you have to push it. You don't develop something unless you have to. We didn't develop unleaded gas until we realized we needed to get lead out of our atmosphere.
Set our wind energy came at the state level.
Well, it's state and federal, but it's the state has to take a lot of credit for what they've done, and I think they'll do the solar. But well, I can't tell you that Massachusetts is going to put a wind farm because they don't believe in visual pollution.
do they believe in?
Texas